everybody, and welcome back to another episode of LogisticSales.com, and we will be continuing our Mastering Sales series in this fourth episode of our Crafting Compelling Email segment. Now, I am Gail Neuenhausen, and I will be your host for today, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Damon Graywald. Say hello.
Hello, hello.
All right, now let's get right into it. Now, last time we focused on incorporating strong calls to action. Now, today we're going to take your emails to the even higher level, which is about ultimate personalization. So how do we get even better at personalizing our emails? Okay. Now, personalized emails, they help us stand out in a crowd, especially in a crowded inbox, by grabbing attention and helping to build some trust. They're much more likely to get a response than, say, generic one-size-fits-all messages or those generic email campaigns that everybody gets, and there's no customization per email. So in this episode, we're going to cover quite a few topics, but specifically why personalization is critical to building your sales email campaigns, how to gather information for personalization so that you can customize each message, the types of personalization that you can use in order to get the optimum results, how to balance personalization without overloading your emails, and examples of personalized email openings and messagings that we know work. Now, Damon, let's start with the why. Why should we be personalizing our email?
Well, how do you even know that you got to open up an email or it's even for you unless it's personalized? So yeah, common sense is going to prevail here. Nowadays, our emails are so bombarded with just so many emails. I know personally for myself, the longer you're using that same email address, the more things you're signing up for, the more stuff is going to get packed into there. And it's so hard to differentiate between what you really need to read versus what you could skip on by. And so that personalized email is going to perform significantly better because it's going to show the prospect that you understand them and their challenges. So again, a little bit more than just putting their name in there, but getting into that specific research is what's going to help build that trust and credibility. It's going to increase those open rates and response rates, and it's going to make that prospect feel valued rather than just being treated as more of a commodity, a number. And again, we want to give that special care and attention to that person to make them feel special, right? And that's the whole purpose of being in service.
Yeah, and it's so true. Like, I'm sure all of us have had an email that's come in where you open it up and it's like addressed to somebody else's name, and you just know it was like an email campaign that nobody took the time to actually take a second to make sure that they properly personalized it. And so instead of "Hi Gail," it's like "Hi Susan," and you're like, not for me. So definitely those little things, while they're pretty simple, they have huge impact.
Yeah, and I've definitely made that mistake by rushing emails. So take your time, please. Personalize it properly, and that's the worst is when you get someone's name wrong or you mess up. But let's follow the statistics here, and stats show that personalized emails can increase response rates by 50% or even more compared to generic emails. So Gail, should we go over why it's important and how to gather the information needed to personalize effectively?
Yeah, and so we got to start off with information gathering, because we do not have the tools to go forward and personalize our emails if we don't have information to personalize them with. So this is where we have to utilize different techniques and procedures to get some information that we can use, okay? Now, the first thing we need, obviously, is who are we prospecting? I need to know the contact's name, I need to know their role and what their position is in that company. Now, once I have that information, we want to look at the company as a whole. How big are they? What industry are they working out of? Are there any key initiatives that are super important to them as an organization? For example, if I was looking at an eco company, maybe the Going Green initiatives and fuel economy are really important for them. So stuff like that is where I will start to make my assessments based off of the research that gets done to the company.
And Gail, this is where that component of really understanding what this information can do for you within the email and relating it. It's a little bit of a craft, but like you said, relating whether it's an eco company and relating it to those eco initiatives, it does require a little bit of research, a little bit of getting to know that client. Also, you can put into ChatGPT and say, how do I make this information relatable? And so that's that personalization piece of really taking the information and being able to relate it to that person as well, not just leaving it as, hey, A, B, and C, here's your initiatives, here's the research, and not being able to actually put it together. So it's a little bit of a tweaking process, which again, comes through practice.
Yeah, exactly. And the deeper into your research dive that you go, the more information that you're going to be able to get to pull from. So for example, things like even recent announcements about the company, different expansions or mergers, things like that, or even personal achievements. So if I'm contacting Bob Smith from ABC Company and I check his LinkedIn and see that he just got promoted to the logistics director, then maybe that's something that I'm going to use for the personalization when I'm gathering that information. So definitely using all of the information that you can find. And it's also going to help you determine what the customer's pain points and challenges are specific to their business or role. Once you have more information, the more understanding you have, the more you can make, and we always say don't make assumptions, but you can make educated assumptions onto what a business's pain points are and what their potential service needs might be. So the key point is that educated assessment.
Yeah, so even when you make some of these statements, it allows that person to either accept what you're saying, or it also allows them to correct what you're saying too. And depending on how you word it, you could do it in a way where it's kind of harmless, but then it's also in a way where you can engage that client, because now you can say, oh, well, hey, I didn't know that aspect of what you were, what that meant for you. But hey, and then again, it just creates that conversation piece to start opening up that and digging deeper into pain points and finding solutions.
Exactly. You just said it opens up that conversation piece, and that's the most important part, because we will use that from prior interactions as we have for future conversations. If we get more information because we assumed wrong and they corrected us, the next time we have a phone call or the next time we write an email, we can reiterate based off of the correction that was given to us to repeat their words back to them. So we can use all of that information. We can have the prior interactions. We can use mutual contact names, and we can use all of that as connection pieces to reinforce that familiarity.
Yeah, it's also that comfort level of knowing that you don't need to have everything right away. And sometimes there's limited pieces of information that we do find about clients. And the reality is that we don't always find everything that we need. And so those assumptions that we make can again help us get to those next steps. And it's better than not putting any information in at all.
Exactly. Now, where can you gather some of this information? There are quite a few places that you can, and honestly, nothing is off limits, but some of the main avenues are going to be company websites and press releases or news releases that you'll find on the internet. You can also look on LinkedIn profiles, whether that's the company's corporate LinkedIn page or specific employee pages. You can also see industry publications or newsletters, blogs, anything along those lines where they provide constant updates within their organization. And of course, then you can also rely on your CRM, your customer relationship management system, or your past emails to look back at your internalized history and see what you have done with them, what the conversations have been like, what things have been successful in the past. So definitely don't forget to utilize any of your previous internalized history as well, because that's definitely going to be a great resource. Now, Damon, how do we use this information to personalize the email without overwhelming them, without making them feel like that there's too much information, that it's too directed at them?
Well, yeah, first I kind of want to talk about the personalization when we talked about previous conversations. And sometimes when we're too used to using technology to get the information. So if we get all the information that we need right up front, the name, we're going to a Zoom info to get all the company data and information. Sometimes what we lose is that personal touch. And so this is why sometimes I say, if you're having a hard time doing that personalization piece, go back to making the first cold call, right? And again, some of the ways that we could use personalization is in those opening lines where we're trying to build that connection with them and that connection piece. And sometimes this happens from that initial phone call conversation, phone call leading into an email, doing the research and saying, oh, hey, I spoke to, the receptionist, or I spoke to so-and-so and I got your information. That's an opening line example of an opening line personalization. It could be whether it's company news or a recent change or a mutual connection where we heard some information, but just leveraging that piece and to make it personalized to the person that we're speaking to puts that little extra level of personal touch in there that you want to use to be able to create that trust, bond, connection piece to move again things forward and to get them interested to read the rest of the email. Another thing that we could use for the personalization process is addressing any problems or challenges that are specific to that person and addressing the pain point that's specific to their role and or their industry, to again show them that we actually understand what they're going through. And so when we can understand what they're going through, the next one is also showing them the solution and the benefit from what we're learning and being able to tie that in directly to that email sequence to show them like, hey, well, here's a problem that you're going through, but we could also give you the solution for that. And then also closing it with a CTA that's personal to them. And sometimes using the name or being more personal to that person makes it easier for that person to respond back, because they're like, well, hey, you know what? This guy's talking to me directly, and it's just not a generic template email. And so when they realize that there's some expertise involved there's some value that's been provided to me, like those solutions, addressing the challenges, then that CTA makes a lot more sense for them to see that, hey, this applies to me, and I could directly reply to this person. And again, it's making it easy for that person by giving them enough of that personalization to say, you know what, I'm probably the right person for you to speak to or talk to, and to lead you further along in this sales process, because I'm taking the time to care, right? I'm taking the time to research. I'm showing you that I'm willing to do whatever it takes to help you out. And that's my main purpose, is that giving of myself to you to show you that I'm willing to work hard for your business.
Exactly. Now, with that in mind, though, you have to keep in mind it is a balancing act. You have to balance your personalization and your conciseness in order to not overwhelm the prospect. So when it comes to personalization, while we all kind of want to sit there and go through the research and go through the LinkedIn profiles and the websites and pick out all this information, these key points, we do want to do that. But we don't necessarily want to use all of that for the first email.
Yeah.
You want to use it as basically like drip marketing. If you have key points and little connection pieces, drop 1 or 2 in your first email. Then you can drop in a few more in your next one, a few more in the next one. But you want to focus on those 1 or 2 key points when you're personalizing that email, so that there isn't an overwhelm of information.
Yeah, and that's that clarity piece, Gail. It's about how do we make it simple for someone to understand? How do we keep it not scattered in so many different places? So even sometimes, I know in our episodes, my brain's thinking, a mile a minute, and it's going all over the place, firing rapid fire. And I'm trying to really, come to that one point where I'm trying to just hammer in on that one thing that I want someone to understand, or one thing that I want someone to feel and understand. And that's about, again, not putting too much in one place where you just lose the person in that context. Again, our job is to get that clarity and bring them into that CTA to get the result.
Exactly. So don't overload with excessive details. Just keep your sentences concise. Keep it really scannable, so if somebody can take a look at it and just read it once and know exactly what you're asking or what you're saying. And make sure that the call to action remains clear and actionable. Again, always an action step. You want a clear direction for the prospect to head in. And then just make sure that they're formatted nicely. So use short paragraphs, short sentence structures. You can even use things like bullet points to make it very digestible, so that the content's easy to follow. Now, Damon, let's go through some examples, because I think we should show some of our viewers what a personalization email looks like. We'll actually probably throw one up here on screen as well for you as well. But take a look at it and let us know if you have any questions.
Yeah, so just going back to that point about not putting too much on there. So simplicity is the key to get the best results. Something that's easy for people to read is, again, those bullet points, that clarity of message. And I always say, leave something for the follow-up. If you use all your best ammunition in the first context or first go around, then how are you going to follow up? Right? And a good person that's doing the research is going to keep some of that ammo for a little bit later and say, okay, hey, if this didn't work, let me try the next thing. If that's not working, let me try the next thing. And then so on and so on and so on. But again, the follow-ups become so important in these emails too, that if we're not getting the right close, then we know, okay, there's still some other points here, and I still have something left in the tank to be able to push this sale forward. And so going back into the examples of best practices, we want to reference, again, key company initiatives or challenges that are directly related to that company. We want to include industry trends or relevant metrics, again, factual information that's relative to their company, can help us show that, hey, this is specific to you. We're not templating this again, right? So I'm always trying to show how this is not templated and how it's a real conversation that I want to have with you, right? My consumer, my person that's going to buy from me. This is important for me to build that relationship. And I want to align my solution with your specific goal, right? Like, what's my client's goal? What's that specific outcome that we want to achieve together to be able to create this win-win opportunity for both of us, so we could both have this future of succeeding together. And that's the whole goal for me always in sales, is the win-win, right? So I want to keep my tone professional, yet I want to be approachable by keeping my language simple. I don't want to scare somebody off by being too technical, right? Or being too pushy. But I want to say, hey, you know what? This is what I have to offer you. If it fits well with your needs, then let's move it to the next step.
Yeah, exactly. And with that in mind, it wraps up this episode of making your emails personalized. And we covered quite a few things in today's episode, but I think they were some really great content. We talked about why personalization matters, why you have to gather your prospects' information before you write those emails, what types of personalization you can utilize when writing them, and different ways to balance that personalization with conciseness and clarity so that we're making sure the message is always clear. And then I hope that some of those examples may have helped you with figuring out how to apply those best practices into your sales. And if you are still maybe struggling, please download the worksheet, because this will be a great resource for you guys for testing out and trying to kind of develop the frameworks for your sample emails and call to actions and everything like that. So please do go ahead and follow that along. I think it'll be a great resource for you guys. And remember that even small personalizations are going to dramatically improve your engagement and response rates when it comes to your email campaigns. So in the next episode, which is actually going to be the final one in the series for our email series, we'll put it all together and we're going to show you how to write emails that are irresistible from subject line to call to action to close, so that you have every tool you need to compose compelling emails. Until then, go ahead and research, personalize, and keep emails concise and focused for maximum impact. And we will see you guys in the next episode.
And don't forget to send those emails to us. We'd love to see them and see your progress along the way, and keep it up with your sales journey. Appreciate it.
Yeah, send us some samples. We'll send you back some feedback.
Bye, everyone.